So we have a walk through the Midsummer Gardens. It's July 20th. Here we have a lovely amaranth, and we have a lovely vine. And some of the tea roses are still blossoming, and the plum tree is doing well. More amaranth. This is the Amaranth Bee's Knees Gardens this year, with amaranth growing in cracks. And amaranth planting themselves, and doggies looking for lizards. And this is a clematis that I placed here. It's getting some new growth. It looks well. And this plant was a kiwi plant that didn't do well, but it's growing something out of its side. Maybe that's kiwi. Here we have the Foresteria that's starting to grow thicker leaves and thicker stems, so they're taking well. And we have grapes and other things in the meditation garden right there. Then we still have lots of red verbena that's blossoming off and on. The goji berry bush will need to be trimmed come the fall. And over here we have a bunch of lemon balm and a nice little dish for small animals to drink water. And this is an area with lots of different things. I'm turning off an alarm. There we go. And the hyssop is still doing well. This used to be hollyhocks. Now we have lovely Russian sage. You can see the very delicate flowers on them, and birds and bees love it. Here's the goji berry bush. We got a few cups of goji berries, but they're going to come out again in the fall. Here is the wormwood, and it's starting to blossom and grow. It's having a good growth season. This is the grapevine. That was part of the wind event, but it still has some grapes on it that hopefully will do well, and we'll see what happens next year. I'm going to have to trim it back and put a new trellis up or rearrange the trellis. This is Yerba Negrita that decided to grow everywhere right here, and I'll have to trim it back. Here are the yarrow that are drying by their own, and the lovely willow tree. The salvia, and the cone flowers, and Tovi eating twigs, and the lovely lotus tree, honey locust tree, and the cherry tree. Over here we have the 3-year-old jujube that still has a ton of flowers on it. Jujubes are a late fall. There are some flowers that you can see. Jujube is a late fall season fruit. Then over here, whoopsie, I'm in the thing, is a bunch of vinca that's picking up again and starting to spread. It's a great ground cover. Here we have the ephedra that grew very well this year. It's grown a lot. And here we have our lovely pear tree. This was the only thing here during the when I bought the place. Here's sage, and sage will need to be trimmed back exponentially. And variegated sage, you can see in a baby apple tree that I just put in the ground. Someone gave it to me to see if it would do well, and it's doing okay. Hopefully next year it'll be better. Here's a ton of mugwort just starting to blossom. You can see the blossoms. And here's a blossom of the bee and butterfly bush. That's right over here. Lovely bee and butterfly bush. The butterflies haven't been here too much yet, but it's still July. They usually come in August. Right over here we have some comfrey that's still blossoming. You can see the gardens from the porch. This is the drip irrigation that even drips elsewhere, so I put it over a bucket or something and use the water to water other plants, so there's no wasted water. And over here was the bubble mint sage, and it had some blossoms. It will have more. The mint is starting to blossom out, so I'll have to harvest a bunch of those. And here we have some new blossoms coming out of this lovely plant, you can see. And what I did here is I started trimming some of the dried coriander, and so that it will reseed itself. Here is a lovely mint sage that had some pretty purple flowers on it. And over here you can see 3 or 4 major growths of tarragon, and then mints and some more coriander. The birds love it. And come the fall, we're going to have a ton of, you can see it, we're going to have a ton of parsley. There's some more parsley starting to grow, some new parsley, so we'll be able to harvest those too. So what I did this morning is I harvested the comfrey that was finished blossoming. I'm going to wrap them in some twine and hang them. I'm going to rinse them off first, and take off the really brown leaves and keep the stems, and start drying them so that we'll have a bunch of comfrey tea. And so this is the way the gardens look from the backyard. And when you come from the porch and start walking through the gardens, you start seeing these beautiful plants and the sun rising over the sandias. Oh, I didn't show you this shaded area. The shaded area is right here, and has some trees that volunteered themselves, and I just keep them trimmed so that no more trees grow there. But I'm considering in this area I have some small 4x4 style can't think of the word. Here's some more Foresteria doing well. Right here we get a bunch of sun, and I'm thinking of putting in some greenhouses. I have 2 greenhouses in this storage area, and I'm thinking of putting one of them over there, and then one of them I'll show you where else, for the winter. So in the winter we'll have lots of vegetables growing, and maybe some fruit, some baby fruit trees, and maybe one someplace over here where there's lots of sun. And there's Toby saying hi. There's wood piles that are drying wood for the fire pit that we had shown you before. And let's go to the front of the yard. You'll just peep through the little fence. The prickly pear are doing well. Everything looks a little bit lighter than it looks in real life because there's sun on everything, but things are doing quite well in the front yard as well. Okay.